No BS, let's get right into the video. This is how I caught longs today during the Asia session. Overall, coming on to the monthly time frame, on the month we are bullish as hell, right? Higher time frame, we just been straight up ripping to the upside. Also, let me just turn off executions for right now. We'll put them on later. But we're going to do a full top-down analysis right now. We're going to go over how I entered off of vwap as well, how I pretty much aligned using a price action bias and then used a order flow entry. So before we get into the video, also hit the like button. If you're new here, subscribe as well. Let's get right into it. So looking at the monthly time frame, on the monthly previous month, we just been displacing to the upside, super bullish. Also, what do I see? We've been shifting structure to the upside, right? So just higher time frame overall on NQ. NQ is always bullish higher time frame, right? Long term on the month, right? So that's first. Then we'll go down to the weekly time frame. What I'm going to do right now is a top-down analysis. So from the monthly to the weekly to the daily to the 4 hour to the hourly to the 30-minute, 15, 5-minute, 1 minute, you guys get the point, right? Starting at the weekly time frame, what I'm pretty much looking for is unfilled gaps. I'm looking for shifts in structure, right? Here we're displacing to the upside on the weekly time frame as well. What do we have below? We have a unfilled fair value gap here on the weekly time frame. We're going to mark this up just because in case we start to shift structure later this week to the downside, this could be, a target 007 if we do start to shift structure to the downside later this week. Going to the daily time frame, what do I see? Same thing. We just keep shifting structure to the upside. Right now, based on the daily, based on the weekly, based on the monthly, nothing is telling me to take shorts just yet. Here, what do we have? Another market structure shift. We just keep closing higher and higher above wicks. Every single pullback, you can see we make the bottom wicks on the daily candles and we just continue the trend to the upside. We form that daily wick, we manipulate, and then we make new all-time highs. So this has been a common theme this entire month as well as last month as well. So overall, my narrative right now is very bullish just based on the higher time frame. And keep in mind, when I'm looking at the daily, weekly, monthly, I'm just trying to develop like an overall trend of the market. What do I see here on the daily time frame? If we zoom in, we have an unfilled daily gap. This unfilled daily gap was actually rebalanced on ES, so I'm gonna keep that in mind for sure. Also, looking at this daily candle right now, it does look like we already made that bottom wick, so now we're kind of like distributing. We also did make new all-time highs, which we will check out in a second. But main thing that I care about here on the daily time frame is we have this unfilled daily gap below. It is far away. I don't care about it too much. We did have a nice run lower. I'm actually pretty surprised we did not have this full dump into that 537 unfilled daily for value gap. But overall, what did we manipulate into? We manipulated into this order block right here, which we wicked out of right there beautifully, right? To continue the trend back up, we have all-time highs above. We could want to make new all-time highs. We will see. Overall, if we go to the 4 hour, actually we're on the 4 hour, what did we have happen right here, right? We had this 4 hour for value gap get rebalanced. It was tapped into, instant wick out. Look at this closure as well, bullish as hell, right? Going down to the hourly, we are, just same thing. Structure is shifting to the upside. We're closing above wicks, right? Shifting structure to the upside. We retap back into structure, instant wick out, run higher, right? So overall, my narrative based on the higher time frames is super bullish, and that's what my narrative was last night as well, looking at Asia. Also here, looking at TDO just bottom ticked right here. Absolutely beautiful move. This could have been a limit, honestly. But yeah, I'm not trading right now. I mainly only trade Asia session. But yeah, let's go into detail about this Asia trade that I ended up taking today. Let's put on executions here. We'll take a look at Asia. I'm going to go over how I entered this trade using vwap. So I have never talked about this on YouTube, but this is a order flow entry that I took that aligned with my higher time frame narrative. Also, we're going to cover this in a second. Here are my indicator settings. If you guys want a screenshot, we just got the band multipliers on. These are really good ass deviations, right? Especially this second band, super powerful. This is this red line here, super good ass level, right? Here are settings if you guys want it for vwap. This is just a free vwap indicator. We're gonna pull this up in just 1 second. Also, let me make sure that that's off. All right, We're going to pull that up in 1 second. All right, what did I see here for Asia session? 6 p.m. opened up right here. Keep in mind the full top-down analysis that we just did. We are confident that higher time frame, we're bullish as hell, right? So understanding that higher time frame, I'm bullish as hell. I wanted to only take longs pretty much. Nothing is telling me higher time frame to even look at shorts, so I ended up taking longs. And right off open, we took my main draw on liquidity, which was this PM high that we had. Did I want to see that? Ideally, no. I didn't want to see us gap up like this. In an ideal scenario, we would have had maybe a gap down, or we would have just, opened around here and then had a trade up towards this PM high, right? But this high, the reason why it has an X on it is because I see this as protected, right? Even though this is a all-time highs, which we probably will this week make new all-time highs, probably, as long as we already did actually. Yeah, we already did make new all-time highs. W kind of prediction. But yeah, this high I saw as protected. Why? We took out PM high. After we take out session liquidity, oftentimes you'll see we'll have a big ass, pullback, which we had right here. We pretty much almost fully filled in. And now it actually looks like price is, yeah, we actually did fully fill it in. We fully filled in this new week open gap that we had. So the main confluences that I had for this setup was first, higher time frame. Let's actually mark this up. Confluences, higher time frame were one, bullish bias. How did we get this bias? I just went over it. We went from the weekly, or actually the monthly even, with the monthly, weekly, daily, 4-hour, hourly, 30-minute, 15, 5-minute, 1 minute. All the higher time frames are telling me that we're respecting bullish PD arrays, disrespecting bearish PD arrays, right? Also, forgot to mention, we have a external SMT at the lows. Where's this SMT? It is right here. If we pull up ES, 1 second. One sec. Let's get this locked in. We had an SMT with these lows here. So super, super significant as SMT. All of these lows were swept out by ES. So SMT was in right there. Now, what does that SMT tells me? That tells me that these lows are protected. That tells me that this low is most likely protected as well. If what? If my drawn liquidity is correct, right? So SMTs hold if your drawn liquidity is correct more times than not, right? So that's why I like SMT so much. You guys probably saw, the whip and everything. I love SMTs, right? These tell me a lot. They tell me that lows are protected, and they tell me that we could continue, after this kind of raid of these lows, the sweep of these lows, right? So for this setup, why did I enter here? Why did I exit there? We'll go over it right now. Looking at the VWAP for my entry, I entered off this outer band right here after we had a clear manipulation lower at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. had an open, low, high, close manipulation into what? Into this new week open gap, right? If we pull up the new week open gap, it was right here. And also, if we actually, let's throw this into replay mode. If we pull up replay mode and we go on the 5-minute chart, you'll see that we actually had a new week open gap on the 5-minute. So this was a big thing that I had my eye on. I saw this M5 new week open gap, and this tells me a lot, right? This is an imbalance. So after price taps into imbalances, as well as this was also equal lows. I don't really use equal lows a lot, but for this setup, I did use it, right? So, or honestly, I do use it sometimes. It's not something I keep an eye on like too much, but if it's there, it's there. If it aligns with an imbalance like this, it just makes it more of a powerful level, right? There's a lot of potential reactions we could have out of this zone because of how many confluences I actually had here, right? So 6 p.m. starts manipulating. Who calling me, bro? 6 p.m. starts manipulating lower, right? Into what? Into that sweep of the equal lows, as well as that 5-minute new week open gap was rebounds, right? My entry was around right here. After I saw on the VWAP, if we pull this up, we tapped into this outer band of the VWAP. This is the second deviation, and this is a very, very powerful ass level. It's basically this red line here. Beautiful, right? VWAP is this blue line. That's the OG VWAP. You can see how beautiful it was. I was actually willing to take a short here, but I didn't get tapped into my short, right? After PM high was taken out, this short down towards these equal lows and that new week open gap, that would have been a beautiful short as well. I did have a limit here on this VWAP for shorts. I did not get tapped in. This was also fading the higher time frame, so it was a little bit more risky, right? I did have that limit. It got edged by a point. Totally okay, right? That would have been like a B-rated setup for sure. This was more of an A+ setup here, this long. Why? Because it followed the higher time frame narrative. Do I always have to follow the higher time frame narrative? If you're a beginner trader, I would say you definitely should. Once you build up discretion in your trading though, after you get, funded, you get payouts rolling in. I mean, if you have the discretion to understand when it's a time where you can, catch a short like this towards like equal lows and towards an unfilled, new week open gap, then yes, I would say it's all right to fade the trend, but more times than not, you should be following the trend, right? And I didn't take this short. I wanted to take this short, but I didn't get tapped into my position. This would have been a beautiful short because of the drawn liquidity. That would be the only reason. The drawn liquidity was so clear, like on the internal time frame, that it would have been okay, honestly, to fade the higher time frame narrative here. But that's not a habit that I want to promote or share to anyone on here. If you have a bias, if you have a narrative set in place, the A+ setup will always be the setup that is following that higher time frame narrative, right? So what else did we have here? We had a 6 p.m. open, low, high, close. We had a 5-minute new week open gap that got rebounced. And when this got rebounced, I'm actually going to highlight this because this was super, super important, right? This gap getting tapped into, I wanted to see some type of reaction out of it, right? When we tapped into VWAP, you saw this wick out that we had, right? This wick out right here. Beautiful ass wick out. Hammer candle closed bullish just like that, rejecting that VWAP second standard deviation. Absolutely beautiful. What else do we have for any price action ICT guys? AMD, right? You guys know this. Accumulation, manipulation lower. We could see distribution back up towards this high, as well as back up towards this VWAP here, this blue line that we have. Overall, for confluences, what else did we have? We had an external higher time frame draw of all-time highs above. So overall, the main confluences for this trade was bias being the number one thing, always bias, right? Like I said, this short could have been taken. It definitely would have been a little bit more risky though, but this was an A+ long, right? So biggest thing here was bias plus the new week open gap getting rebalanced plus VWAP. That's pretty much like a three-step setup pretty much, right? And obviously waiting on that 6 p.m. open to manipulate. So we had the 6 p.m. manipulation. You guys, some people like DM me, some people ask me, why do I trade Asia so much? Bro, the manipulation in Asia sessions is just so clear. So let's keep going over this. So I took this with 2 contracts right here. I was risking around like 500 on this trade to make a rack, right? A rack per account. So if we play this out, also during the trade, we ended up making a unfilled 5-minute gap. We're gonna remove this for right now also, just so that my chart is not messy as hell. So during this trade, we're gonna turn off VWAP as well because it's messy as hell when I keep on like hella indicators and stuff. But what did we open during this trade? We opened up a unfilled 5-minute for value gap above. So now coming into this trade, I'm like, all right, we're still reacting off of VWAP super nicely right here. We're still holding it. We're still wicking out. I have very high confidence in my bias and my drawn liquidity. And also, before I go forward, I want you guys to understand that my psychology during this trade was, if I take a win, a loss, or a break-even trade, that's okay, and that's my one bullet for the session and one bullet for the day. Since I was trading funded accounts here, past accounts, I like to pretty much take just one trade a day on those accounts because that's what keeps me the most consistent in my trading. And overall, if you take a loss, if you take a break even, sometimes you can feel emotions. Sometimes you can want to chase a drawn liquidity that is not always there. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know the type of psych, right? Because psych is the biggest thing ever, right? Psych overall is more important than your strategy technical wise, in my opinion, because as long as you have proper like risk systems in place and you have proper psych systems that prevent you from like being a dumbass, then more times than not, I would say like every strategy works in trading. Obviously, there are better and worse strategies based on factors like risk to reward, based on factors like win rate, obviously. But in my opinion, most trading strategies work. But the reason why they don't work for some people is because for some traders, is because some traders have such a mid-ass psychology to the point to where, they can't even make the strat work for them because they can't stay disciplined to it, right? So here we had this unfilled 5-minute gap. This is where I moved my stop loss to break even right here. Ended up edging my break even. Here we were up hella cash and we had this pullback, edging my break even, and then ended up surviving. Almost got hit break even here. But if I got hit break even, would that matter? No, because this is my one shot, my one bullet, right? We hit my main internal target that got formed, this unfilled 5-minute, and if it would have gone hit break even, it's okay. I would have came back either next session, later in 8 p.m. Asia or in London session, or I would have just hopped off for the day. Realistically, I probably would have hopped back on the charts in another session, like 8 p.m. actual Asia Open or London around like 2 a.m. And then shot one more bullet when there's like a new drawn liquidity pretty much, or just new price action in that new session. But yeah, moved to break even there, let this play out, and ended up smacking VWAP. That was my TP right there, VWAP, as well as this was a 1-2, 2.1R, around like a 1-2 overall. So a good base hit. Personally, in my trading, I've been taking a lot of base hits just because of how consistent it actually is. And it just removes a lot of stress. It removes any, round tripping. Sometimes you'll be floating 6, 7. I did not mean to do that, I promise. Sometimes you'll be floating like 8, 9R. It'll round trip you, hit you break even, and then your psych's all cooked, right? So the 1-2s, they just keep things simple overall, and it's super consistent. It happens every single day. You can catch a 1-2. So yeah, absolutely beautiful TP here. Also, this would have been a potential short entry here if you were bearish, right? If you were bearish, for example, maybe towards this, we did have an unfilled 4-hour here below, then this type of VWAP even could have been a short entry. So as you guys probably see now, like the way that I trade, it's really based on my drawn liquidity mainly, and then a lower time frame entry. Hold up. Who's calling me, bro? Stop calling Crab, bro. So yeah, that was pretty much the trade recap. I'm not going to sit here and overcomplicate things. I'm not going to sit here and make up random names for things. There's no need to do that. I just wanted this video to be kind of straight to the point. Quick trade recap. Let's get out of replay mode. But yeah, just want to give this quick trade recap overall. Also today covering the VWAP analysis, right? Some order flow analysis. I really never posted any order flow analysis on YouTube, but here you go, right? Let me know if you guys want more analysis like this, just kind of seeing how I view the market in a different type of lens as well, other than just price action, because I know on YouTube I really only go over price action. But going forward, if you guys want it, I can cover more order flow kind of concepts that I use and just things that I kind of keep in mind sometimes, as well as how to get precise ass entries using it. And yeah, the title of this video is probably going to be something like, two-step model, whatever, SMT or VWAP, whatever. It really is 2 steps, bro. Bias plus a tap into VWAP is all that this trade pretty much was, along with the other confluences that we had, such as we had SMT'd up at the lows, we had a strong-ass drawn liquidity, higher time frame, which this is the most important thing ever. Your drawn liquidity is the main thing that matters, and the overall direction is what matters the most. And then, if you get a tap into VWAP, if you get a tap into TDO, if you get a tap into 618 of OTE, more times than not, your setups will play out if your drawn liquidity is on point. So if I had to give one piece of advice to my beginner trader self, like 2-3 years ago, I would say is really master your drawn liquidity, because then any entry model will play out more times than not if your direction is correct and if your drawn liquidity is correct more times than not. But yeah, quick, straight to the point type of video today. Comment if you guys want more of these. I know I haven't done a trade recap in a minute on here. I've been kind of lazy, not gonna lie, but I'm gonna lock in on the trade recaps. So yeah, until next time, love you guys. Drop something in the comments if you made it all the way until the end of this video. I'm gonna reply to every single comment. So even if you're gonna drop like a W in the comments, I'll reply. Just comment, makes the channel grow. Hit that like button as well. Subscribe for more. Till next time, love you all. Peace out.